And I believe the stream is up. Get this shared out, and then we'll get the day going. Okay, so continuing on from last time. Now, where did I... There they are. We were beginning to implement the search case insensitive function, which was really just sort of messing with my mind because of the names being so similar, and then also getting tripped up with dyslexia there of like, which one is the case, like, cares about case again, case insensitive, case sensitive. It was kind of a bit of a mess, but I think we have what we're doing here. So if we continue taking a look at where we are in the code, we have a search for, let's see, we have passing tests for search case insensitive and search case sensitive. So that solves that problem. We're also going to need to update the structure here to handle case sensitivity, which means, okay, so we don't, when we implement that, we have to also take the case sensitivity as a Boolean in here. Our run function will just grab the, well, so this is taking in a config, so we don't have to care about that. But it will care about which one to run. I don't think we've written any of the integration tests yet, so we won't have to care about that. So this is, I'm going to turn you into dark mode. Something I noticed is my camera is it's caused, like, either I look like a ghost or I look like I have, I don't know, fuzzies a little bit in front of the screen. So I think the way to solve this is the fact that I have I'm just using the normal lights in the room and I don't have lights from outside shining in. That would solve the problem. So I think I need to get some more lights. Let's say case insensitive here. We've written test-driven development to change these. And then we have our tests. Okay, so parse standard in. So parse standard in. We don't need to care about this because it's going to be an environment variable that we set. We're probably going to grab that environment variable. Not sure if my internet connection is acting up or stream is a black screen, but can you hear me? That's the more important part. Actually, not really. I think all of it is an important part. Take a look at, so my preview window is showing me me. So I think it might be your internet connection. A test on an independent device here. Yeah, on my phone, I'm also able to see my stream just fine right now. So I think it might be your internet connection or something. Maybe a refresh will fix that. Okay. The stream is blank, and judging by the lack of info below the stream, I'm assuming Twitch is having its normal error. It has around this time of day. Oh no. Can you all hear me though? My stream preview correctly. Because I could also restart. I mean, OBS is saying that it's sending out this stuff, and there's no dropped frames. And it's sending out the right amount of data. All right, well, let's continue looking at these. Config should error when not correct number of arguments are passed in. So we don't have, oh, we should be fine. It's Twitch, the whole thing is down. No stream is coming through. Oh, that's too bad. Wonder if I should pivot then. Because if Twitch is down right now, I don't know if they're going to be recording. You'll just have to record locally. Okay, well, let me start the recording. All right, so I'm beginning recording here because Twitch is acting a little bit strangely, and I don't necessarily trust that they're keeping the recording. So what we're doing here is we're working through our code to make sure that we're implementing the case insensitive and case sensitive search correctly. We have chat going on with Twitch, a bunch of tears because nobody can actually see the stream right now, and it's questionable whether or not they can hear me either. Okay, so config should error when not the correct number of arguments. So one of the things that that we're looking at right now is that we're going to be taking in an environment variable to set whether or not we're going to be using case sensitive or case insensitive. And so we've set that up last time in our structure. So we want to just make sure that we're testing everything that we need to. So parse standard in. We don't need to do that because that's parsing standard in. This is an environment variable. It's going to be something slightly different. Config should error when not correct number of arguments. This is also fine. This is part of the standard in thing. Okay. Search case insensitive, search case sensitive. Both of those were working fine. It should search and find multiple. That's fine. It should search and find nothing. So I think those are all good. Let's test to see if our code is running properly. So cargo test. Test get entire text. Failed. Where did that come from? So these are running 6 tests, running 0 tests, running 1 text. Test get entire test failed. Thread get entire text panicked at assertion failed. Left equals right. Left is hello world, and right is hello world. Oh, okay. So now we're at the integration test. So let's go take a look at that. To tests. Minigrep. Bringing up an incognito work, so it must be something with cookies or something. Well, I'm glad you're able to see this stacking. That is weird that incognito works. My guess is that maybe a shift refresh also works because that would tell it to like throw away all the cache. Maybe they did an emergency update to their web app. Okay, so let's wrap this. Let input equals. So here's our input from the command line. Our arguments. We're then giving. I don't want to say false here. I want to also say like let because what we're looking at is potentially this is case sensitive is going to be false to begin with. So want under here let case sensitive search to be false. And then we want to put this in here, case sensitive search. And then we're going to unwrap that to get the config object. Then we're going to let the text equals grep run config. So, and then dot unwrap. So our search here, our search target is single line, and I'm thinking we should rename this to test text hello world, and then hello world. So case, we are in case sensitive false. So we should expect that case sensitive false. We believe that that means that if we search for hello, we're not getting anything. We should search for hello and only get this one, the top one. Oh, case sensitive search. That means we want to be insensitive, meaning that we do want both of these here. So what that means is, so in false, assert equal hello world, new line, and then this one. In fact, I believe that I can just copy this and throw this in here like that. I think that this works. Let's try it. Okay, so we have a failure in here. Error opening file. Well, error opening file because I kind of changed the name of the file and I forgot to change where I'm finding it here. So it's actually test text.txt. And everything is running just fine there. So we want to also copy this and repeat this test. But this one is for case insensitive search, and this is case sensitive search. Okay, so what's different about this one? Our input is going to be exactly the same. We're going to search for the same hello. Reddit went a little bit crazy. Was it because like a bunch of people were unable to get Twitch? Okay, let case sensitive search equals true. We create our config, which passes in both of these. Then text equals grep run config unwrap. So now this time it should just be this first one, like that. And okay, so this failed. Left did not equal right. Left was hello world. So it was case insensitive, even though I wanted to be sensitive. And right was just the hello world. So let's go and figure that out. So when we have false, when we have true as case sensitive search, that comes up here as case sensitive true, which means that in our run function, here's our run function. We want to make sure that we are properly doing this. So right now we are running, so that file, touch this, okay. We get our file content. We read the file to a string, file content. Where is okay file con, and then we result the file con. Wait, where am I doing the actual search again? Okay, so run. Takes in a config, turn string string, mute file equals this. When did the search happen? I thought run was doing the actual search too. I'm actually really kind of, that feels weird. I think it's because I'm just returning the entire file. I'm not actually running the searches on here. So we have the file content. We need to actually search. That's kind of weird that I didn't do that. So we have okay file content, but we needed to like continue on with this and do the real part. So match file read to string. So let's now do the actual searching here. So we want to say if case sensitive. So we can do a match with this, but if we do a match, we're gonna have to match like query and file name, which doesn't make any sense. But I think we can say is, okay, if I thought we did the search too, but I don't see it here in run. Unless I'm just like completely missing it here. It doesn't seem to make any sense. Let's take a look at the main function because I could swear it was working in there too. Match grep run, okay text, print line, text. No, the search isn't in main either. I have getting the config, and then I have this match. Okay, I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. Okay, so apparently I didn't actually finish writing the code, and I thought that I had. So this is a fun thing about test-driven development, is that it is possible to write tests that, I mean, they pass, and then you think that they're good, but what it really is you haven't actually written enough tests. Because you can make them pass without actually having the application work. But me adding in that second line actually solves this problem for us because it forces us to be able to handle two different scenarios, which means that we now can't just return the entire file on its own. We must return one of the two things. So in run here, what is our big thing? We want to say, okay, we have success. We need to now choose if our config dot case sensitive. So if this is true, and then we're going to have an else here. So if case sensitive is true, we want to then get the result of case sensitive, search case sensitive. And when we do this, that mute result, it's going to return the result. So we want to then return that too. See, I just getting the entire file content and sending that. That's the crazy thing. So in this case, I don't want to return the file content. I want to return okay, and then the result of this will be the result of calling search case sensitive handing it config.query, and this will be the file content. And we're going to return that. Otherwise, we're going to return, okay, search case insensitive, and this is going to be config.query and file content. All right, let's see if this makes that test pass. Oh, I got a lot of errors now. Okay, so expected reference to string found structure a full string. Okay, so I need to, in both of these locations, give references because content is also the same way. Okay, why are you red and angry? Expected structure string found standard vector? Wait, what? I'm not sure what I'm... Okay, I need the real errors. Mismatch types. Okay, search case insensitive. Expected structure standard string. It's a string. It takes a stir. Found structure standard vector. So which... So the result of search case sensitive. Oh, you know what? Okay, I think I get it now. Right now, this function is expecting a string back, but that doesn't make... Does that make any sense? Because each of these searching case insensitive and sensitive returns a vector of the strings. I wonder if it would be better to format that and like join it together by a new line and then return that. That might be the best thing, is to have like a result file content and then join them. Let's go take a look. Do we have... First of all, I don't think we've done anything in the wiki for joins, have we? Printing values, enums, error handling, hash maps, string methods. No. Let's go to Rust vector join. What's the equivalent of a join operator over a vector of strings? A slice concat ext is what they suggest. Also, this chat is getting below my head, so I need to change that. Hold on a second. Well, I don't want to do that. All right, perfect. It's the same thing I said yesterday about constantly changing types is really causing problems now. Actually, this one I don't think is the same exact problem because I was changing... This is not part of that changing types. This is part of like the original deciding to return a vector instead of like a string concatenated together. Now run needs to do that. Well, there is this join here. Flattens a slice of t into a single value self-output. So hold on. Assert equal hello world join hello world. Okay. So literally just join. So I might be able to do that. If I do dot join, and what do I want to join it by? I want to join it by a new line. And I want to do the same thing to you. Dot join by new line. Okay, you make the squiggly lines go away, so you're happy. Let's take a look if the real compiler's happy. Yes, it is. Tests all pass. So because those tests pass, we can't really do the main yet because we don't know how to like actually grab in through standard center there. However, join is awesome. So we're just going to add this into here for vector methods. Vector methods. Vector methods. Okay, so vectors. The main thing about these is we want to say, okay, I guess it is join dot join. This does exactly what we think it does. It joins two vectors by the argument past n. And then we have the documentation. Not going to hit the save button. I'm going to click the save button. Okay, so perfect. Now we're coming back to our code. Actually, now it's time for us to continue back with the book again because we've now caught up to what they wanted us to do. The search case insensitive function shown in listing 1221 will be almost the same as the search function. The only difference is that we'll lowercase the query at each line, so whatever the case of the input arguments, they'll be the same case when we check whether the line contains the query. And so here's like something very similar to what we have here. Yeah, I think we already did that. First, we lowercase the query string and store it in a shadowed variable with the same name. Calling to lowercase on the query is necessary, so no matter whether the user's query is Rust, 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 or Rust, we'll treat the query as if it were Rust and be insensitive to the case. Note that query is now a string rather than a string slice because calling to lowercase creates new data rather than referencing existing data. Say the query is Rust. As an example, that string slice doesn't contain a lowercase u or t for us to use. So we have to allocate a new string containing Rust. When we pass query as an argument to the contains method, now we need to add an ampersand because the signature of contains is defined to take a string slice. Next, we'll add a call to lowercase on each line before we check whether it contains query to lowercase all characters. Now that we've converted line and query to lowercase, we'll find matches no matter what the case of the query is. Let's see if this implementation passes the tests. Well, it passes their tests. Great, they passed. Now let's call the new search case insensitive function from the run function. First, we'll add a configuration option to the config struct to switch between case sensitive and case insensitive search. Adding this field will cause compiler errors since we aren't initializing this field anywhere yet. Note that we added the case-sensitive field that holds a boolean. Next, we need the run function to check the case-sensitive field's value and use that to decide whether to call the search function or the search case-insensitive function, as shown in listing 1222. Note that this still won't compile yet. So that's what we've got now with the new. Oh, it looks like they're doing let if, essentially. And I didn't actually do it this way because I'm actually returning to like the main function what it is instead of printing out directly from run. It's an interesting choice to do that here. Finally, we need to check for the environment variable. The functions for working with environment variables are in the env module in the standard library. So we want to bring that module into scope with a use standard env line at the top of source librs. Then we'll use the variable method of the env module to check for an environment variable named case insensitive, as shown in listing 1223. So hold on. Finally, we need to check for the environment variable. The functions for working environment variables are in the env module in the standard library. So I want to bring that module into scope with the use standard env. Okay, so we're doing that inside of here. Use standard env. And what are they doing here? So we have we're implementing config. Oh, so this is the so this is inside of the implementation of config. Return error not enough arguments, let query equals this, file name equals this. Let case sensitive environment var case insensitive is error. Oh, okay. So environment checking the results of whatever this is to go and then we set case sensitivity off of that. You're passing a shell flag just like you pass a file name and query. Although it feels like it's not necessarily exactly the same as that. What I think that I want to do here is essentially this thing right here. Let's first grab this out and just take a look at what it is. So in library, do we want to do this here? Because like we are taking in case sensitivity here. Would it be better to do this essentially in main and then pass it in when we take a look at main, we're creating the config right here, new config, and then passing in false. I kind of like the idea of grabbing in the environment variables here so that we're explicit with how we're using it, because that's going to make it easier to test inside of the integration tests here, where we want to say like, hey, we want to test both of them, but we don't want to set the environment variable. I think that's what I want to do, which is here we're just setting which one of these are going to be set like that. In main RS, we're going to be setting this. So I don't need standard env here. I need it in main here. Also, I have, what's this? The name env is defined multiple times. Oh, well, hold on. I've already got it in here. Then we're fine. The other thing is use external create minigrep. I need that. env, I need that here. Use minigrep grep, I need that, and process. Okay, so we're fine. So now we want to grab the results of this environment variable, and then we'll hand it into here. So we have the arguments, but we also need let case sensitive search equals, let's take a look at how we do this. It's the env var case insensitive, and then is error here. Is that just a panic with is error? Well, it should actually tell us. We're using the is error method on the result to check whether it's an error and therefore unset, which means it should do a case sensitive search. Oh, it just checks to see if it's an error and returns a Boolean. This way would kind of problem since your first call is already putting in a vector for you. I'm putting it right here before. I wasn't putting in a vector. It's going in a separate area. So what this is env, I think it's var, and then the key is case sensitive dot, your args var already has it. I don't think it does. The args var isn't going to have this. Is error. Okay. So if it's an error, it should be true to be case sensitive search. This is not used, so this will now be case sensitive search here. So I'm not going to be passing in like the true or false in the arguments. When we use this, we're going to be passing in the query and the name and the file name. But whether or not the Boolean for case sensitive will come from an environment variable. Which is the reason why we have to do these in two different places. Because if we take a look at our, when we're pretending to grab those arguments, we're grabbing all of these things, which is, okay, this is the location of the application, this is the query, and this is the file name. We still need to define and have our case-sensitive search as a separate thing. That's right, I keep thinking it's in the arguments, not from the environment variable. I know, I actually think it would be better to be in the arguments. You could just pass this in arguments. I don't know why they're using environment for this. I think they're using environment for this because they want to show using an environment for something. And I don't necessarily disagree with doing it in a way that's not necessarily the best place to use it, because there's not too many applications that really need that. Okay, so if we do this, now we want to, well, this should just work now, right? The big thing is, yeah, so function is error is a Boolean. So if it error is getting this, like for example, it's unset, then it should be true, and it'll be a case sensitive search, it's true. Which is really weird. So I think I should be insensitive. Because that way, if it errors from, let's say, it not existing, is error will be true. So then we'll do, basically, I want, if it's going to be true, I want it to make sense. Case sensitive, true with that. I guess they don't want to add more complexity by having to match for the case insensitive on the args. Case sensitive. I guess what it is by default it's case sensitive. Otherwise, I can overwrite it by doing a false on it. That's what it is. Okay. So then we have this. We create our config. We pass in all of our things. We then run the thing, and then we print line the text coming out. Okay, so I think we're ready to try this for real. For the first one, we're not going to set the environment variable for case sensitive. We're just going to use the files. So what is this going to be? Let me take a look at here. We're going to say cargo run, and then it's the query. And if we take a look at our file name here, it's the poem. We can look for there's a capital I. So we could look for anything that has an I. So run, we have I, and we have poem.txt. And so pair, they banish us. So one thing is that first I is not in here because it errored out with this one right here. And so therefore we are case. I guess this is false because it's not really an error then. Okay, so case sensitive. I'm going to copy this and let's do export case sensitive equals true and try this again. There, now it works. And if we do case sensitive equals false, that works as well. What if I totally screw up and say case sensitive equals blah blah? Oh, it becomes truthy essentially, or it's the error that then case sensitive is true. But yeah, the application works. I guess they don't want to add more complexity by having to match for the case insensitive on the arguments. I don't know, like I think they could also like do the -I thing for like case sensitivity. I don't know. Let's go back to the book. We're done here. Here we create a new variable, case sensitive. To set its value, we call the environment var function and pass it the name of case insensitive environment variable. The env var method returns a result that will be the successful OK variant that contains the value of the environment variable if the environment variable is set. It will return the error variant if the environment variable is not set. We're using the isError method on a result to check whether it's an error and therefore unset, which means it should do a case-sensitive search. If the case-insensitive environment variable is set to anything, isError will turn false, and the program will perform a case-insensitive search. We don't care about the value of the environment variable, just whether it's set or unset. So we're checking isError rather than using unwrap, expect, or any other methods we've seen on result. Oh, so that's what it is. It's just, is it set at all? If it is, which doesn't make sense because, so wait, if I come here and I set you to false, do the cargo run, we get that. And when we set you to true, it also works. But if I set, oh, nope, not that one. Case sensitive equals nothing, and then run this. How do I delete an environment variable? Is there a delete? No. I don't know if there's actually. I'm trying to remember, like, I don't actually remember how to delete an environment variable without like actually just resourcing. And even then, I'm not really sure that will do it. That's the problem with environment variables, is that they are a little bit messy. We're using the isError method. Okay, we already did that. We pass the value in the case-sensitive variable to the config instance, so the run function can read that value and decide whether to call search or search case insensitive, as we implemented in listing 1222. Let's give it a try. First, we'll run our program without the environment variable set and with the query to, which should match any line that contains the word to in all lowercase. Looks like that still works. Now let's run the program with case insensitive set to 1, but with the same query to. If you're using PowerShell, you will need to set the environment variable and run the program in 2 commands rather than 1. Use unset. Ooh! Unset case sensitive. Hey, then we're good again. Thank you, stacking. Looks like that still works. Now let's run the program with case insensitive set to 1, but with the same query to. If you're using Windows PowerShell, you'll need to set the environment variable and run the program in 2 commands rather than 1. We should get lines that contain 2 that might have uppercase letters. Excellent. We also got lines containing 2. Our minigrep program can now do case-insensitive searching controlled by an environment variable. Now you know how to manage options set using either command line arguments or environment variables. Some programs allow arguments and environment variables for the same configuration. In those cases, the programs decide that one or the other takes precedence. For another exercise on your own, try controlling case insensitivity through either a command line argument or an environment variable. Decide whether the command line argument or the environment variable should take precedence if the program is run with one set to case sensitive and one set to case insensitive. The standard env module contains many more useful features for dealing with environment variables. Check out its documentation to see what is available. So I don't think I'm going to do that, mainly because that doesn't seem too interesting to me of a problem. I think there's other ones that we could solve. But we're on to the last part of chapter 12. Writing error messages to standard error instead of standard output. At the moment, we're writing all of our output to the terminal using the print line function. Most terminals provide 2 kinds of output: standard output for general information and standard error for error messages. This distinction enables users to choose to direct the successful output of a program to a file, but still print error messages to the screen. The print line function is only capable of printing to standard output, so we have to use something else to print to standard error. Checking where errors are written. First, let's observe how the content printed by minigrep is currently being written to standard output, including any error messages we want to write to standard error instead. We'll do that by redirecting the standard output stream to a file while also intentionally causing an error. We won't redirect the standard error stream, so any content sent to standard error will continue to display on the screen. So one way to do that here is, if we take a look, okay, so I can create like an out.txt. So if I call cargo run poem and I redirect the output to out.txt, I notice that this didn't get redirected, so this is not on standard out. This might be on standard error or something else. And then if we cat out.txt, this is what we end up seeing. So let's do that again, but we screw up the name. And we get the error opening a file, which we want it to come to standard error. First, let's observe command line programs are expected to send error messages to the standard error stream, so we can still see error messages on the screen even if we redirect the standard output stream to a file. Our program is not currently well behaved. We're about to see that it saves the error message output to a file instead. The way to demonstrate this behavior is by running the program with the greater than sign and the file name output.txt that we want to redirect the standard output stream to. We won't pass any arguments, which should cause an error. The greater than syntax tells the shell to write the contents of standard output to output.txt instead of the screen. We didn't see the error message we were expecting printed to the screen, so that means it must have ended up in a file. This is what output.txt contains. Oh, yep, our error message is being printed to standard output. It's much more useful for error messages like this to be printed to standard error, so only data from a successful run ends up on the file. We'll change that. Printing errors to standard error. We'll use the code in listing 1224 to change how error messages are printed. Because of the refactoring we did earlier in this chapter, all the code that prints error messages is in one function, main. The standard library provides the ePrintLine macro that prints to the standard error stream. So let's change the two places we're calling printLine to print errors to use printLine instead. So ePrintLine instead. Let's do that here. We have printLine there. So we'll actually unwrap or else. This is the error. So ePrintLine. ePrintLine, process exit. And that's unwrapping the config. Then we run, and if it's okay, we print the line to standard out. Otherwise, we ePrint the line of the error. Let's try that. So we will cargo run this again. And this time we got error opening the file. And if we cat out, absolutely nothing got in there, which is perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. After changing printLine to ePrintLine, let's run the program again in the same way without any arguments and redirecting standard output with the greater than sign. Now we see the error on screen and output.txt contains nothing, which is the behavior we expect of command line programs. Let's run the program again with arguments that don't cause an error, but still redirect standard output to a file, like so. We run this. We won't see any output to the terminal, and output.txt will contain our results, which is perfectly understandable. This demonstrates that we're now using standard output for successful output and standard error for error output as appropriate. And then our summary. This chapter recaps some of the major concepts you've learned so far and covered how to perform common I/O operations in Rust. By using command line arguments, files, environment variables, and the ePrintLine macro for printing errors, you're now prepared to write command line applications. By using the concepts in previous chapters, your code will be well organized, store data efficiently in the appropriate data structures, handle errors nicely, and be well tested. Next, we'll explore some Rust features that were influenced by functional languages, closures, and iterators. And those should be a little bit fine because I've been using closures and iterators over these applications. So I think Danny did come online last week, I think, and told us that he feels that the rest of the book is going to be the high level sort of going over what things is. However, there is a final project which is building a multi-threaded web server, and since we didn't cover threads in the rest of this, in the previous part of the book, that will be really interesting to get to. But let's go ahead and update where we're at here. So I'm in here. We'll vim readme. Change until the closing. Okay. Okay, so these are interesting questions that we have about the app, but we put the search functionality in the Run app. This is more of a question that we have, which I think could be going into like currently at, and then maybe another one here, which is questions to answer. And we'll put that there. So we'll save and quit that. Let's go ahead and update our code here. So we completed the minigrep project. And sending it on up. Now, one thing I was sort of thinking about during the weekend was whether or not these search case sensitive and search case insensitive, they feel incredibly similar. But the only difference here that we have, is doing this to lowercase. And I kind of wonder if I could break this out into another function to actually like convert the query into what it's supposed to be. And then make these search case sensitive. I guess it's not for different types, so I can't do a generic. It's for the same types, it's just I want them to do different things. So I guess never mind. I was hoping that I could figure out a way to use generics here, but I don't think that will work. I think it actually works out. I think I could put different I could have a runner function for search, and then if it's case sensitive, it could change around. I know it's only 5 lines. I was just thinking about different ways to like make it truly functional. And not repeating myself. But with the rule of 3 that I generally like to follow, we have not broken it because we've only done it twice and not 3 times. So I am still perfectly fine with this, with it as it is. Let's go ahead and close our editor up because we're done here. We're done with you as well, which means that back to here we go. Back to GitHub. We have where we're at currently here. So time for the standard ending spiel that I have. Thank you everybody for stopping by and watching. I know there was a little bit of weirdness with Twitch this morning, but it seems to have cleared up. So I'm guessing because everything seemed to have been fine from the server side of Twitch, I'm just going to go ahead and use their recording and send that over to YouTube for the archive. I have all the code here in my Learning Rust repo. I have links to the repo in the stream description, but also in the VOD videos that I'm sending over to YouTube in the Learning Rust playlist. I have also links to YouTube where you can find that, and if you're on YouTube, I have links to the Twitch stream in case you want to stop by and watch me live. If you enjoy seeing these and you want to get notifications and don't want to rely upon me remembering to notify everybody over Twitter, please follow this channel. Follow me on YouTube also in order to see when these archives go up. I don't think I have anything else. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is my thing. Tomorrow is Wednesday, July 4th. Independence Day over here in the States, which means that it is a full holiday. I don't have any work, but I also don't know if I'm going to be streaming or if I'm going to be spending the time with my family and doing that. So keep an eye on Twitter, and I'll tweet out whether or not I'm streaming. And if I do an unofficial stream, probably won't be the book. It would probably be just something else. Okay, with that, I'm gonna go have the get ready for the rest of my day, and I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, even if it's coming to an end. And click.